Have you ever stood in front of your own mother begging for the one thing keeping you alive and heard her say, "We had to cancel it. My name is Maggie Collins. I'm 22, and I live with type 1 diabetes. It's not something I chose. It's not something I can pause or push aside. It's a disease that demands daily care, daily costs, and constant strength. Last year, I found out what it means when the people who are supposed to protect you will choose something else instead. That day, my glucose meter flashed 487. My insulin pen was empty, and my mother told me she'd canceled my prescription to buy VIP concert tickets for my sister. I asked her if she understood that without insulin, I would die. She told me I was being dramatic. If you've ever felt overlooked, silenced, sacrificed, this story is for you. You're not alone. Leave a comment if you've ever been made to feel like your life came second. I see you, and I hope you'll stay with me. Because this is the story of how I nearly died, and how I made sure they never forgot it. The day started like any other, until it didn't. I checked my glucose 487, retested, 489, too high, dangerously high. I reached for my insulin pen, clicked once, twice, nothing, empty. A cold panic settled in my chest. I called out, "Mom!" My mouth already dry, my head spinning. She came to the doorway, didn't look me in the eye. That's when I knew. Did my insulin delivery come today? She hesitated, then said, "We had to cancel this month's order." Just like that. I froze, my body still, my mind racing. "You canceled my insulin?" She smiled, soft, like it wasn't a big deal. "Lily's band is doing a farewell tour. VIP packages went live today." I blinked. "This isn't a toy. It's not optional." She waved a hand. "People lived without all these meds before. Just eat less carbs, sweetie." And in that moment, I saw it clearer than ever. To them, my life was a luxury, not a priority. They spent $1,000 on tickets, but couldn't afford what was keeping me alive. If you've ever been told to tough it out while others got everything they asked for, keep listening. Some stories don't begin with love. They begin with a choice. And mine was made for me. Dad showed up behind her, arms crossed, already defensive. "You can ration what you have, Maggie. Just take a little less each meal." I stared at him. "You mean starve?" He shrugged. "The concert's once in a lifetime." I opened the drawer where I kept my supplies, counted what was left, maybe 2 days. If I skipped meals, if I cut doses, if I ignored every warning sign, I whispered, "A month's supply costs $340 with our insurance." They bought 2 VIP tickets, $500 each, for Lily and her best friend. "I could die," I said, not loud, not angry, just true. Mom rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic again. You've survived worse. Just be careful. You'll be fine until Monday." It was Friday night. The pharmacy was already closed. They were going shopping the next day for Lily's concert outfit. As I stood there, they talked about which dress would look best from the VIP section. Not a single glance back at me. If you've ever felt like background noise in your own crisis, stay close. Because what came next was something no one could ignore. That night, I didn't eat dinner. I couldn't afford the insulin to cover it. I took 1/4 of my usual bedtime dose, just enough to stay conscious. Maybe. My stomach growled, but I ignored it. Hunger was safer than a blood sugar crash. Upstairs, I heard laughter. Champagne corks. They were celebrating, toasting Lily's dream come true. She'd gotten the tickets she wanted. I was curled on my bed, watching my glucose climb past 600. My hands shook. My mouth burned. Saturday morning, I called the pharmacy. Begged for an emergency refill. The pharmacist sounded kind but helpless. "I'm sorry," he said. "The order was canceled by the primary account holder. Without their authorization, we can't override it." I asked again. Pleaded. He apologized again. By afternoon, I was vomiting. My muscles cramped. My head spun. Downstairs, Lily was live streaming, trying on outfits, as I dry heaved into the bathroom sink. That night, my vision blurred. The meter couldn't even read the number anymore. I sent one text to Claire. Think I'm in trouble. Glucose too high to read. If you've ever whispered for help because no one else was listening, this next part is for you. Claire didn't answer right away, but she came. She used the key I'd given her months ago, just in case. She found me on my bedroom floor, unconscious. I woke up 3 days later. White lights, tubes, beeping monitors, ICU. Dr. Bennett stood beside me. Margaret, he said gently, your glucose was over 800. You went into diabetic ketoacidosis. Your blood turned acidic. Your organs were shutting down. I blinked, tried to speak. Nothing came out. He touched my shoulder. Another few hours and you wouldn't have made it. Claire was there too, eyes red, holding my hand. She whispered, you scared me. I managed to ask, how did I get here? She showed me her phone. My message. She'd found me just in time. Called 911, stayed with me. Dr. Bennett asked the question next. How did you run out of insulin? I told him. Every word. He went quiet, very quiet, then turned and walked out of the room. I found out later he'd gone straight to the hospital's legal department. If someone has ever saved your life because your family didn't, you know how deep that cut can go, and this wound was only just beginning to open. Claire never left my side. While I slept, she gathered everything. Screenshots of my texts, photos of Lily's celebration, posts from Mom calling her our miracle girl. While I lay in ICU, Claire had proof. Months of messages where I begged for insulin money, family group chats where Mom said, stop being selfish, Maggie. No one replied, except Claire. Always Claire. She showed me what she'd done. A private fundraiser. She hadn't wanted to embarrass me, but people needed to know. The post went viral overnight, not because I was dramatic, but because it was real. And as it spread, I remembered someone else, Nancy Lee, a patient advocate I'd met once at my endocrinologist's office. She gave me her card, said, if you ever face discrimination from anyone, call me. I never thought I'd need her because of my own parents. But lying in that hospital bed, I dialed her number. My voice shaky but clear. She listened, didn't interrupt. Then said quietly, Maggie, that's medical neglect. That's attempted manslaughter. A pause. Then I'll be there in an hour. If you've ever had someone finally believe you after everyone else looked away, you know what that moment feels like? It's the start of something real. Nancy didn't come alone. She brought backup. A lawyer who specialized in medical neglect, a social worker with years of trauma cases, and Detective Ramirez, quiet, watchful, already writing things down. They didn't ask. Are you sure they asked for facts? And I had them, because for years I'd been keeping everything. Receipts, bank transfers, texts where Mom said, we'll pay you back after Lily's pageant, audio clips of Dad saying, you need to stop acting like a burden, photos of my insulin vials half full while Lily held new designer bags. I never thought I was collecting evidence. I was just trying to survive, trying to make sense of the pain. But Nancy looked at me and said, you've already done half our work. They studied my records, noticed patterns. Each time my prescription was delayed, a big charge appeared on Mom's credit card. Shoes, spa visits, Lily's TikTok equipment. Nancy turned to me. This isn't just neglect, she said. It's a paper trail of their choices. And every one of them said you were worth less than her likes. If you've ever felt like your pain was something others stepped over, this part is for you. Because sometimes justice starts in silence. But it never stays there. The hospital bill arrived while I was still recovering. ICU stay, emergency care, insulin drips, blood work, monitoring, over $50,000. Insurance would cover most, but thousands still fell to me. Deductibles, gaps, the usual fine print. I'd seen this before. Mom and Dad saying, you'll have to figure it out. But this time was different. I was 22, legally an adult. Nancy helped me file for medical emancipation. I removed them from my insurance account, blocked them from making decisions about my care forever. She also connected me with programs my parents never told me about. Grants, emergency access, sliding scale support. Help had been there all along. They just kept it from me. Meanwhile, Lily posted, "Can't wait to meet the band." The concert was in 2 weeks. Neither parent had visited me. Not once. They were busy planning her big night. I watched their social media updates from my hospital bed. Outfits, hair appointments, dinner reservations, and I realized they weren't ashamed. They didn't think they'd done anything wrong. So I made a decision. If they wouldn't stop celebrating, I'd make sure the people they celebrated with knew the real cost of those tickets. Because survival wasn't enough anymore, it was time for accountability. I emailed the band's management team, told them everything, attached Claire's screenshots, hospital records, the police report Detective Ramirez had begun. Subject line, "Your VIP tickets almost killed me." Their PR rep responded within hours. Polite, careful, then horrified. They didn't want their name anywhere near a story like mine. 2 days later, the VIP packages were quietly canceled. Full refunds issued, no explanation, just technical difficulties. Lily melted down on live stream, tearful, screaming, "Someone sabotaged my dream night." But by then, Claire had already posted the full story, with proof. People weren't buying Lily's version, they weren't laughing either. The comment sections turned fast, hard, and I wasn't done. See, while I fought for insulin, I was also finishing nursing school. Full scholarship, honors, my thesis medical neglect in chronic illness care. It wasn't just academic, it was personal. I anonymized the details, but every word pointed back to the nights I nearly died so Lily could smile on camera. My professor called it groundbreaking. He submitted it to national journals. And when it was accepted, something inside me shifted. Because finally my story was no longer just pain, it had become evidence and a warning. The article spread fast. Patient advocacy groups picked it up. Emails started coming in. "Can you speak at our conference? Would you share your experience with our students?" I said yes to every single one. The first event was just a week after Lily's canceled concert. Honorarium $5,000, enough to cover my insulin for nearly a year. I stood on stage hands steady, sharing what it felt like to be denied care by your own blood. After the talk, a woman hugged me. "My daughter has type 1, she whispered. I thought I was alone. I wasn't. None of us were. And then another shift. Dr. Bennett's report combined with the Detective Ramirez's notes landed on the desk of the district attorney. They saw the pattern, the canceled prescriptions, the concert charges made minutes after the order was pulled, and they acted. My parents were charged with medical neglect, reckless endangerment, attempted involuntary manslaughter. The trial date wasn't set yet, but the case was moving, and while they planned outfits for a concert that would never happen, they had no idea what was coming. Because justice doesn't knock. It kicks the door in, and this time I was holding the key. They were at the mall when it happened, shopping for new shoes, still clinging to the night they thought was theirs. Security cameras caught everything. 2 officers approached. Calm, told them they were being taken in for questioning. Mom scoffed. There must be a mistake. But there wasn't. They were arrested on the spot. Local news picked it up hours later. Parents allegedly chose concert over daughter's insulin. Their mugshots hit social media before they got bail. I didn't share the article. Claire didn't either. We didn't need to. The internet did it for us. Lily tried to recover. Posted a video, crying, blaming trolls, said I was jealous of her success. But people weren't fooled. Screenshots of family texts surfaced. Mom telling me to grow up when I begged for medication. Videos of dad waving off dangerously high glucose readings. It's not always about you, Maggie. They tried to control the narrative, but the receipts were already public. If you've ever been blamed for surviving what others put you through, you understand this feeling. It's not revenge. It's exposure. And once the truth is out, no PR strategy in the world can take it back. The trial came quickly. No delays, no drawn-out drama, just facts, and there were too many to ignore. Hospital records showed 3 separate DKA admissions that year, each followed by a canceled prescription. Pharmacy logs confirmed it. Every time they pulled my refill, they spent big vacations, gadgets, tickets. Bank statements sealed it. 1,000 for VIP concert seats, charged exactly 12 minutes after my insulin order was stopped. The jury didn't take long. Guilty. 2 years in prison, suspended to probation with conditions. They were ordered to attend mandatory parenting classes, pay financial restitution, and obey a restraining order. They couldn't come within 500 feet of me. But the best part? The restitution. Every hospital bill, every ER visit, every insulin vial I had to fund myself while they bought dresses and ring lights, they had to pay it all back. It bankrupted them. The house gone. The cars sold. Lily's wardrobe listed online within days. And even then, they still owed me more. If you've ever dreamed of justice but never thought it would come, this is what it feels like. Not sweet, not loud, just quiet, steady, and finally real. I used the first restitution check to start something I wish I'd had. A foundation. Insulin over image. Its mission to provide emergency insulin to diabetics whose families chose status over survival. We launched on the night Lily was supposed to be at that concert. Instead of stage lights and selfies, we had folding chairs and truth. Claire helped organize everything. Dr. Bennett gave the opening remarks. And our keynote speaker, the lead singer of Lily's favorite band, he read my story, reached out himself. "I want to help," he said. I had no idea. He auctioned off the exact VIP experience my parents once thought was worth more than my life. All proceeds went to the foundation. We raised $100,000 that night. The speech went viral. He looked into the camera and said, "No concert is worth a life. Music should bring families together, not tear them apart." Lily commented on the video, begged him to understand, said it wasn't her fault. He never replied. If you've ever wondered what healing looks like, this is it. Not revenge, not erasure, just choosing to build what no one built for you and letting it matter. I graduated nursing school that spring, debt-free. Paid for by speaking engagements, writing grants, and donations from people who believed my life was worth saving. My focus, pediatric diabetes care. Because no child should fear their fridge going empty more than their blood sugar going high. I work at a children's hospital now. I keep a framed letter in my office, the one my parents sent through their lawyer. It wasn't an apology. They don't do apologies. It was a list of complaints, how I'd ruined their lives, how one mistake had cost them everything. One mistake. As if choosing concert tickets over life-saving medication was the same as forgetting to pick up milk. Sometimes I reread it, not out of anger, but as a reminder, because every day a kid walks into my exam room with the same look I used to wear, tired, small, already learning that some lives feel more valued than others. And I get to be the person who says otherwise. If you've ever built something beautiful from what tried to break you, you know the feeling. It doesn't erase the past, but it reclaims the future, and that's enough. Just last month, a 16-year-old girl sat across from me. Quiet, guarded. Her A1C was dangerously high. I asked if she was rationing. She nodded, didn't speak. Then finally, my parents said, "We can skip this month. My brother needs new cleats for football." I didn't react right away, just reached into my drawer, handed her two things, a card, Nancy Lee's, and a pamphlet, Insulin over Image. She looked up, eyes wide, almost hopeful. "Will it really help?" she whispered. I rolled up my sleeve, showed her my insulin pump, my CGM, my medical ID bracelet, all things I got without my parents' help, I told her. Then I leaned in. "You know what's once in a lifetime?" She shook her head. "Your life." Her smile was small, but it reached her eyes. "My brother's not even that good at sports," she said. I laughed. So did she. And in that quiet moment, I saw the cycle break just a little. If you've ever become the person you needed when you were younger, you know this feeling. It's not about saving everyone, just one. Then another. Then another. Last week marked 5 years since I collapsed on that bedroom floor. 5 years since my body nearly gave out because love came with conditions. Claire and I celebrated quietly. Sugar-free cake, laughter that didn't hurt. We held a donation drive for the foundation, raised enough insulin to supply 50 families for a full month. 50 lives, 50 chances to rewrite a story like mine. My glucose that day, a perfect 95. Lily tried to post about it, tried to spin the story, said I'd inspired her to care more about advocacy. The comments told her otherwise. No one bought it. Some lessons it seems she'll never learn. But I did. I learned that DNA doesn't define family. Family is the friend who shows up with glucagon at 2 a.m., the doctor who takes your pain seriously, the advocate who says this is not okay, and the strangers who become allies because your truth mirrored theirs. I don't think about revenge anymore. I think about reach, impact. What can grow from a life almost cut short when someone chooses to keep planting anyway? If you're still here, still standing, even after they tried to break you, you've already won more than they ever will. My parents still send letters, through their lawyer of course, never to say sorry, only to complain about money, about how I turned everyone against them, about how their lives were ruined over one misunderstanding. They live in a cramped apartment now, on the edge of town, working minimum wage jobs. Every extra dollar goes to me. Court-ordered restitution. They'll be paying it off for years. Lily works retail. No brand deals, no followers left to impress. Turns out people remember, especially when you toast champagne while your sister fights for her life. But me, I'm not angry anymore. I don't need to be. Their choices carved out a path, and I took a different one. I walk hospital halls now, hold the hands of children who feel invisible like I once did. I advocate, I educate, I listen, and I frame their letters, hang them on my wall, not as trophies but as reminders of where I came from and where I'll never go back to. If you've ever turned pain into proof that you're stronger, wiser, and freer than they ever thought you'd be, then you already know sometimes survival is the victory. Just yesterday, a little boy named Evan came into my clinic, 7 years old. Type 1, newly diagnosed. His mom looked tired, worried, like she hadn't slept in weeks. She asked me, how do we do this without falling apart? I knelt beside Evan, showed him my pump, let him press the button. He smiled just a little. Then I handed his mom a folder. Inside info on programs, grants, and our foundation's emergency kit. She blinked, surprised. No one told us these existed. I nodded. They didn't tell me either. We sat there, just the three of us, for a moment that felt like peace. Not because everything was fixed, but because someone finally said, "You're not alone. I can't undo what happened to me, but I can make sure it doesn't happen to someone else." That's the power I carry now. Not bitterness, not blame, just truth and tools. If you've ever wished someone had shown up for you sooner, I know that ache. But sometimes we don't get the person we needed. We become them. And when we do, we don't just heal ourselves. We heal forward. We heal out loud. Every now and then, someone asks me why I keep telling this story. Why not let it go? Why not move on? But this isn't just a story. It's a signal. To every kid rationing insulin because someone else needed new shoes. To every young adult told they're being dramatic for wanting to stay alive. To every person who was labeled too much when they were actually just in danger. I tell it because silence protects the wrong people. Because pretending it didn't happen helps no one. And because every time I speak it, someone messages me, "This happened to me too." They're in every city, every state, every age group. Neglect doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like pretty photos and filtered lies while someone fades in the background. I was that blur. Now I speak in focus. If you're hearing this and feeling something heavy, don't push it down. Let it rise. Let it speak. Let it change something. Because the moment we share it, it stops being just pain. It becomes proof. It becomes power. And it becomes the thing someone else was waiting to hear. I never planned to be an advocate. Never imagined I'd be the one speaking into microphones, answering questions from journalists standing behind podiums. I just wanted to stay alive. That was the only goal. But once the spotlight found my story, I had two choices: step back or step forward and bring others with me. So I stepped forward. I started speaking at schools, medical panels, support groups. I talked about systemic neglect, about family silence, about how survival is sometimes treated like a personality flaw. And people listened. Not because I was famous, but because I was familiar. They'd seen a version of me before, in their neighbor, in their niece, in themselves. What happened to me wasn't an exception. It was a pattern. And patterns only break when someone shines light on them. If you've ever found yourself in a position you didn't ask for but knew you couldn't ignore, you're not alone. You don't need a stage, you just need a voice. And when you use it, even if it shakes, someone else will stop shaking too. This fight didn't begin with me, but it's mine now, and I don't plan on letting it go. After every event, people come up to me. They thank me. They say I'm brave. They call me an inspiration. And I appreciate it. I do. But when the lights fade and the room clears out, there's still work to do. Emails to answer. Families to connect with aid. Pharmacies to call for emergency fills. Teenagers waiting on the other end of a text asking, is it supposed to hurt this much? This isn't a performance. It's personal. Because the applause fades, the headlines disappear, but the kids don't. And neither do the problems. Insulin is still overpriced, access still unequal, and too many people still think this disease is manageable as long as you just try harder. I speak so often my voice sometimes cracks. But I don't stop. Because somewhere a girl is skipping dinner to make her vial last 2 more days. I know her. I was her. So when people ask why I keep telling the same story, I tell them it's not the same story. It's happening again, right now, to someone else. And maybe if I say it loud enough, they won't have to say it alone. People like to imagine justice as loud, explosive, but that's not how it showed up for me. Justice came in monthly payments, in court-stamped envelopes, in the silence of their empty house after everything was sold. It came when I saw my father wearing a grocery store name tag, when someone sent me a photo of my mother stocking clearance racks at a mall she once shopped in like it was her kingdom. No handcuffs on TV, no dramatic courtroom breakdowns, just accountability, measured, sustained, unavoidable. And that's the kind that lasts. Because while they struggled to rebuild the image they lost, I keep building something real. The foundation has expanded. More volunteers, more emergency kits, more kids we reach before the crash comes. We've partnered with clinics in 3 new states. Our hotline now runs 24/7. Sometimes justice looks like punishment, but more often it looks like protection. It looks like prevention. It looks like a mother crying with relief when we overnight insulin her insurance wouldn't cover. If you've ever waited for justice to arrive in thunder, don't miss the quiet version that changes everything. Because sometimes the softest winds cut the deepest. Insulin over image was never meant to exist. Because no one should need a non-profit to survive a disease that's treatable if you can afford it. But here we are. We've helped over 1,200 families so far. Most of them had stories eerily like mine. Insurance denials, parents forgetting to reorder, kids rationing, fainting, smiling through school days with numbers in the 400s. And every time I hear it, I think we should have caught this sooner. Not just me, all of us. The systems, the doctors, the neighbors who looked away. That's what this foundation is for, not just supplies, but awareness, education, legal resources, and when needed, witnesses. Because when no one listens, it takes just one person who does to change the outcome. We started with a suitcase of kits and 1 borrowed office. Now we're nationwide. And still, I wish we didn't have to exist. But until we don't, I'll keep showing up. So will Claire. So will Nancy. If you've ever built something out of a gap you were shoved into, you know it's not charity, it's justice, with a different name. And sometimes it fits better that way. There is one moment I come back to often. It wasn't the hospital or the courtroom, not even the night we launched the foundation. It was quieter than that. 6 months ago, we hosted a small dinner, just donors, volunteers, and families we'd helped. One mother stood to speak. Her son, 10 years old, sat beside her with his insulin pump visible. She said, "Before your team called, I had $18 in my account and nothing in the fridge." The room went still. Her voice didn't shake. She'd already cried those tears. She said, "For the first time, someone treated my son's life like it mattered more than a pair of shoes or someone's birthday dinner." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. But in that moment, I felt something shift in me again, because for years I thought I had to prove my worth, to be palatable, grateful, quiet. But sitting there surrounded by stories like mine, I realized we were never the problem. If you've ever felt like you had to shrink just to be safe, just to be tolerated, hear this. Your existence isn't too much. It's too important to be ignored. My parents lost a lot, their home, their savings, the image they spent years building, but what they really lost was access to me, to the version of me who still hoped they'd choose better. That door is closed now, not out of hate, but survival. They still don't understand it, still call it punishment, still think I'm bitter, but I'm not. I'm just done begging to be valued. Lily tried to reconnect once, sent a message through an old friend, said she wanted to make peace. I didn't answer. Because peace doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. It comes from truth, from change. And neither of them ever asked how close I came to dying. They never brought it up, not once. That silence told me everything I needed to know. So I moved forward without them. And in doing so, I found more than peace. I found purpose, a community, a life that's mine. If you've ever chosen to walk away from people who wouldn't protect you, that's not failure. That's clarity. And sometimes letting go is the most powerful thing you'll ever do. There's a legal line now. 500 feet. That's how far they have to stay away. It was part of the sentencing, the restraining order. Standard, the judge said, but to me it was sacred. Not because I live in fear, but because I live in peace. I don't have to wonder if they'll show up unannounced. Don't have to brace myself every time the phone rings from an unknown number. The line isn't just legal, it's emotional. It's the boundary I once begged for and now own completely. They can't reach me. Not through guilt, not through lawyers, not through social media. Every message they've sent has been filtered, documented, stored in a folder I never open. Because I no longer need to defend myself against people who never chose to defend me. If you've ever built distance brick by painful brick, know this. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors that only open from your side. And some doors are meant to stay closed. Not to shut out love, but to keep out harm that once wore its mask. That line, it's not just paper, it's freedom. The headlines faded just like they always do. New scandals, new stories, the world moved on, but I didn't. Because while everyone else forgot what they did, I lived with the echo. In every pharmacy line where I double-checked my refill. In every quiet moment where trust still felt like a luxury. Justice had been served, but healing wasn't instant. There were nights I still woke up thinking I'd run out again. Mornings where my hand shook reaching for the insulin pen even though I knew it was full. That's the part no one sees, the after. Not the drama, but the repair. The slow, quiet stitching of something torn too many times. That's why I kept speaking, not for attention, but because I remembered what forgetting cost me. And every time someone says, I thought I was the only one I know, I'm doing the right thing. If you've ever outlived the thing that tried to break you but still carry its shadow, you're not weak. You're remembering clearly what others chose to forget. And sometimes holding on to that truth is the strongest thing you'll ever do. There was one day quiet, ordinary, that didn't look like a victory, but it was. I picked up my refill at the pharmacy, paid for it myself. No hesitation, no stress. I walked out holding that small white bag and suddenly I stopped. Right there on the sidewalk, because 5 years ago that bag meant begging, meant hunger, meant collapsing on my floor while they toasted with champagne. But now it was just mine. No one could take it away. No one had power over it. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just breathed deeper. Because sometimes taking your life back doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with stillness, with knowing you are no longer waiting for someone else to care. You care, you act, you provide. And that quiet power is louder than anything they ever did to you. If you've ever reclaimed something they once used against you, your voice, your safety, your future, you know how it feels. Not like revenge, not even like triumph. Just peace, solid, unshakable. And in that moment, I wasn't their daughter. I wasn't their victim. I was just me. And that was finally enough. Lily tried to rebuild her image. She posted throwbacks, told half-truths, framed it all as a misunderstanding that got out of hand. She said I was jealous, said I exaggerated, said I made it about me. But the internet doesn't forget. Claire had kept everything. Screenshots, group texts, videos of our parents brushing off medical emergencies like they were teenage drama. And when Lily tried to relaunch, the comments flooded in. Is this the sister you left to dye nice dress paid for with insulin money? Her follower count dropped, brands pulled out, her influencer career gone. And still she never reached out, never said, I'm sorry. Only, you ruined everything. But I didn't ruin it. The truth did. Because truth has a way of slipping through filters no matter how perfect the lighting. I wasn't the one performing. I was the one surviving. And in the end, that mattered more. If you've ever watched someone try to rewrite your pain into their redemption arc, hold steady. The truth may not trend, but it stands. And no amount of followers can drown it out forever. The courtroom gave me closure, but not repair. Yes, they were convicted. Yes, they had to pay. Yes, they were told on record they'd endangered my life. But the gavel didn't heal what years of dismissal had done. It didn't return the nights I lay awake wondering if I was asking for too much. It didn't erase the look in my mom's eyes when she chose tickets over treatment. What it did do was validate. Publicly, officially, unarguably. It told the world, you weren't imagining this. You were right to feel betrayed. That mattered, because for so long I'd questioned everything. Was I overreacting? Was I selfish? Did I deserve to be ignored? The trial didn't answer those questions. It destroyed them. And in their place, I planted new ones. What does safety feel like? How do I protect others before they reach the edge I nearly fell from? If you've ever stood in front of justice, hoping it would give you back your peace, know this. Sometimes peace doesn't come from punishment. It comes from the certainty that what was done to you was real, was wrong, and was never your fault. The restitution wasn't just money. It was a record of every single time they chose something else over me. Every hospital bill, every emergency room visit, every unit of insulin I paid for while they booked spa weekends and bought Lily her third designer bag. The court calculated it all, down to the cent. It drained their savings, forced them to sell the house, the cars, even the vacation timeshare they once bragged about. And still, it wasn't enough. They'll be paying me back for the next 12 years, little by little, a monthly reminder of what they cost me. But here's the thing, I don't need the money. Not really. It funds the foundation now, covers emergency refills, keeps the hotline open through the winter. So when a kid in Ohio or Arizona gets their insulin delivered in time, it's because the people who hurt me are finally paying for something real. If you've ever wondered what justice feels like when it outlasts the anger, it's not revenge. It's repurposing, turning harm into help, turning loss into fuel. And no matter how long they pay, they'll never buy back the version of me they threw away. The night Lily was supposed to be at the concert of her dreams, I stood on a different stage. Same night, same city, very different crowd. Our foundation's first gala, a room full of donors, nurses, advocates, and survivors, people who'd lived through what I had, people who didn't get to call it just one mistake. The ballroom wasn't fancy, but it was full of something I never felt at home: safety. Claire opened the evening. Nancy lit a candle for every life lost to preventable neglect. Then it was my turn. I looked out at the faces of people who had chosen to show up, for others, for themselves, for the ones still fighting. And I told my story, not as a victim, but as a witness, to what love looks like when it's chosen, to what justice feels like when it echoes beyond the verdict. That night, we raised $100,000, enough to cover insulin for 400 families in crisis. Lily posted a photo from her couch. No captions, just silence. If you've ever wondered what it feels like to reclaim a night that was never meant for you, it feels like finally standing where you were always meant to be and never moving back. The lead singer of Lily's favorite band was at the gala. Not for show, not for press. He'd read my story after the VIP tickets were canceled, reached out directly, said we never want to be a part of something like that. He didn't just show up, he spoke. Told the crowd, no concert is worth a child's life. Then he pulled out 2 lanyards, the exact VIP passes my parents bought. He held them up. These were meant for someone else, he said. But tonight they're worth something real. He auctioned them right there. A collector bought them for $25,000. Every dollar went to the foundation. The moment was surreal, because for years Lily said his music saved her. But that night, his voice helped save others. She tried to comment on the video, tried to explain, tried to shift the story again, but he never responded. None of them did, because even in a room full of strangers, the truth had already chosen a side. If you've ever felt silenced by someone louder, flashier, more likable, know this: when the right people finally hear your truth, you won't need to scream, you'll just need to stand. And they'll stand with you. A month after the gala, I walked across the stage to receive my nursing degree. Full honors. No debt, no help from them. I wore a simple white dress. Claire sat front row, crying before they even called my name. My hands didn't shake when I took the diploma, but my chest tightened when I looked out into the crowd and saw kids holding signs, "Thank you for helping my mom. You saved my sister." It hit me then, this degree wasn't just for me. It was for every night I rationed insulin, every lecture I attended while dizzy from low blood sugar, every paper written with hospital bands still around my wrist. I didn't just earn it once, I earned it twice. Once as a student, and once as a survivor. And while they didn't show up again, I didn't need them to. Because I finally understood recognition doesn't always come from the people you hoped would care. Sometimes it comes from those you helped because they reminded you of yourself. If you've ever crossed a finish line with no one clapping but yourself, that still counts. And maybe it counts more than anything. I work now in the same hospital where I once nearly died. Different floor, different badge, same halls. Sometimes I pass the ICU and catch a glimpse of the room I was in, room 314. I never forget. But now I walk those halls not in fear, but with purpose. I check charts, adjust pumps, teach families how to count carbs without shame in their voices. Every child I meet, I remember what it felt like to be scared and unseen, so I make sure they're not. I give stickers and science, answers and softness, information and dignity at the same time. The nurses who once saved me are now my colleagues. They smile when they see me. Sometimes they tear up. One of them said last week, "You were never just a patient. You were a fighter in scrubs before you even had the title." If you've ever returned to the place that broke you, but stood taller, wiser, stronger, you know this feeling. It's not about forgetting what happened, it's about proving it didn't end there. And sometimes healing looks like holding the same clipboard someone once held over your bed. I see them every week. The quiet ones, the ones who flinch when I ask if they've been taking their insulin. Their parents answer for them too fast, too smooth. So I slow down. I ask again, gently this time, just to the kid, just with my eyes. And sometimes they nod, barely. That's all I need, because I remember what it's like to live under someone's roof but never feel safe enough to speak the truth. So I give them space, and then I give them options, foundation cards, emergency contacts, ways to get help without permission. Sometimes they use them, sometimes they don't, not yet. But they always know someone sees them now. I teach them what their bodies are doing, not to scare them, to empower them, because I wasn't taught. I was managed, controlled, dismissed. These kids, they deserve better. If you've ever looked into a child's eyes and seen your own younger self staring back, you know what it means to break a cycle. And you know why we can't stop at survival. We build so they can live freer sooner and never have to beg to be believed. Last month, another letter came. From their lawyer as always. Neat, cold, formal, not an apology, never that. Just another list of complaints, how restitution payments were ruining their credit, how I dragged the family name through the mud. At the bottom, a single line stood out: "You made one mistake into a life sentence." One mistake. As if nearly letting me die was a scheduling error, as if survival should come with forgiveness pre-installed. I didn't cry, didn't rage, just read it once and quietly slid it into the file with all the others. That letter hangs in my office now, right above my desk, not to relive the pain, but to remember the line I crossed when I stopped waiting for them to understand, when I chose forward instead of back. My patients ask about it sometimes. I just say, that's what clarity looks like when someone else refuses to find it. If you've ever had to turn away from the people who should have protected you, not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself, then you already know. Some things we frame not to honor them, but to never forget why we rose. A few days ago, one of my teen patients came back for a checkup. She handed me a folded note. No envelope, just creased edges and handwriting that looked like mine at 15. Inside it said, "Thank you for listening when my own family didn't." I kept that note. Tucked it next to the one from my parents, not for comparison, but for contrast. Because legacy isn't what we leave for people like us. It's what we build for the ones who needed what we never had. Claire and I still talk every day. Nancy checks in once a month. The community we've formed, it's not built on obligation. It's built on choice. Chosen family, chosen truth, the kind that shows up not because they have to, but because they refuse to let you fall alone. I used to think family was about blood. Now I know blood doesn't make someone stay. Compassion does. Consistency does. If you've ever been held up by people who didn't owe you anything but gave you everything, then you've already found the kind of family that doesn't disappear when things get hard. That's the kind I'm building now, one story at a time. Last week marked 5 years since the night I nearly didn't wake up. 5 years since Claire found me unconscious, barely breathing on my bedroom floor. We don't call it an anniversary out loud, but we both feel it. So we baked a sugar-free cake, lit one candle, not for celebration, but for survival. We held a donation drive that day. Quiet, simple, no stage, no speeches, just a table, a story, and a sign that read, "This cake is sweet, but survival is sweeter." We raised enough to fund insulin kits for 50 families. One of the donations came with no name, just a note, because you reminded me that my life still matters. That one stayed with me, not because it was grand, but because it was real. If you've ever marked a milestone, not with parties, but with proof that you made it, that your breath still rises in the morning, that your story still holds power, then you know some anniversaries aren't about the past. They're about what's still possible. And sometimes the quietest candle burns the brightest. Sometimes people ask me, how did you forgive them? The truth is, I didn't. I didn't need to. Forgiveness isn't always the goal. Sometimes it's just living well without carrying what they left behind. I still wear my insulin pump, still track my glucose, still know the exact price of every vial, every strip, every quiet decision that kept me alive. But now I do it on my terms, with my team, with people who see my life as more than an inconvenience. Lily once tried to post that I inspired her journey into advocacy. The comments reminded her some stories are not hers to claim, because this one belongs to the girl who nearly died on a Friday night because her family wanted better concert seats, and who lived, not just once, but every day after. If you've made it this far, thank you, not just for listening, but for staying. And if you've ever been told you were too much, too sensitive, too dramatic, let this be your reminder. Your life is not a burden. It is once in a lifetime. Make sure it counts. I know I will. And if this story touched something in you, a memory, a feeling, a moment you've lived, I'd love to hear it. Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who might feel seen because you spoke first. And if you want more stories that speak truth, healing, and quiet strength, hit subscribe. Because this journey isn't over, and neither are you.